Oh, well, wasn't it?
Yes, the orange light is on, so I'm.
All right, the orange light is
Okay,
on.
perfect.
Big brother is watching now. Yeah.
Might be good sister, I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
All right, well, this is the meeting of the Personnel Committee, October 10th at 5 o'clock. I'll bring us into our meeting. And we do have some HR updates, hiring updates. Mary, if you'd want to tell us a little bit about those.
Sure. There is a PDF attached, and
Yep.
hopefully y'all have that.
We do.
So there were some really good questions that came to me in the first couple of weeks of my job, and I wanted to make sure I answered those tonight at Personnel Committee. So as of last week, we had 68 positions that we have filled and 4 open. So that changed to 5 with a resignation that was added to the personnel report for tomorrow night that Stacy and I just chatted a little bit about.
Oh, was that added today?
Nope, like
Oh,
Friday.
okay. Oh, okay. I
Friday.
probably saw.
And then there was an email string that folks were just wanting to know a little bit more about emergency licensing and how can somebody not be licensed as a teacher.
Yeah.
So DPI used to have a process where it was pretty easy to emergency license teachers. And you just kept every year saying, yep, another year I'm emergency licensing them again and again.
Oh, really?
and again,
Oh.
which is not really best practice.
Yeah.
So now that more and more districts are needing to do that because of the job market, probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago, they put into place something called a license with stipulations. So we recommend that a teacher receive a license with stipulations. It's no longer emergency. And what we have to do on that form is to indicate how that teacher will go about completing that license.
Yeah.
And then depending on what type of license that we're requesting, there is a time limit now where there never used to be. So for a special ed teacher, they have 3 years and that's it. The example with our people services director, Katie, we needed to emergency license her. She only has 2 years to do that. And then again, a district could say, no, you get 1. We don't get it done, then we're not going to continue to employ you. Clearly, it's in our contract that you have to have a license to teach, right? DPI requires a license to teach. So we can crack down on that if we want. So right now we have 36 plus Katie. Again, this was only teaching staff, but 36 plus Katie that are on an emergency or a license with stipulations path. And I tried to indicate the path that we are aware of and found out that a couple of folks needed a little nudge to take care of this. So we fill out the form, they upload it to DPI and say, here's what I'm requesting and here's the money. As DPI always gladly accepts the $125. And then DPI has also built in by next August, there's a checkpoint that they have to indicate their progress toward that. And again, that wasn't the case in the past. It was, here's your license, add another one, add another one. So it's put some accountability in for the district, but also those teachers to make sure that they're doing the work. So you kind of see a sampling of that on here.
Yeah.
CISA 6 and CISA 7 both offer a nice coursework. We do have several teachers, not only in this list, but from the last 2 years, no, last year, that are working on their special ed license. CISA 6, it's called a RIGHT program. They also do regular ed and do a really nice job of supporting teachers. I think honestly, even beyond what some of our folks get in undergrad, it's a pretty intense process.
Wow, thanks.
CISA 7 as well, because I think they see some of the problems with sometimes undergrad programs and have really said, okay, we'll take this on, we'll do the training, and we'll really tighten up what we do with our teachers. Several of the teachers are on here that are already certified teachers. We hired them or moved them to a different position. So now we have a teacher who's a reading teacher, but without a reading license. So she's already certified as a teacher, but needs to add on some more coursework in order to be a reading teacher, whether she's doing intervention or coaching, that is required by DPI.
Okay.
So when it says certified already, that's because we made some shift in what they were doing for us. And we need to make sure they're fully licensed. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Sure.
I think a lot of times the public's like, what is this emergency license? How can you get away with this?
Mhm.
But there are some teeth into it now compared to what used to exist. Jim, do you have a question? You look like you were.
Oh, you're really good.
What?
No,
I
when
was
you explain it like that, it makes I can imagine everybody's a lot more clarified, especially with the ones where they're already teachers, they're already certified teachers. And you know, they're filling needs and we can, yeah, that's simple. That's totally.
I think we have one that she's certified through third grade because K3 is a common license. And we have her teaching fourth this year.
Yeah,
So she's got to go through the whole rigmarole to add a grade.
sure.
When I was first became a teacher, it was you were allowed 1 year buffer. So if my license was through eighth, I could actually teach ninth. And DPI cut down on that. Now they go through the whole rigmarole to
Yeah.
say, no, back to a program, got to get this additional year added on.
That makes a lot of sense.
I just feel bad for her because she probably, if she's teaching third, probably knows how to teach
Oh,
fourth.
yeah,
But now she's got to jump through some
Oh,
hoops to
yeah.
prove her worthiness as a fourth grade teacher. But
Sure.
there might be some pieces there she gets out of her program, and that's fine.
Yeah, 2 questions. I assume most of this stuff is online now. You can do almost all of it online. You
yeah,
don't have to do
pretty much.
summers and.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
And does the district pick up any of the costs for that?
We were using some ESSER money for the right program.
Okay.
If we tapped somebody on the shoulder already in the district, maybe as a para, that we wanted them to
Oh,
move
yeah,
into
yeah.
special ed. Apparently some ESSER money was targeted, even as early or as late as recent as last spring. So we still have a few more stragglers finishing up their special ed degree. That's very common practice, even where I've been working. That's not unusual.
But the third
Special
grade
ed-
teacher's certifying for fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
She pays for it, right?
I mean, as far as obviously adding things to the resume and building up what they've done, I mean, do we have any type of incentive for teachers that are doing that, or did we already talk about that?
I don't think so.
Or do we just say, hey, we need you here, and they do it? Or we ask them to do it? I mean, I kind of
The
wonder.
only one that I know of that we were offering is when we were talking about, remember when they wanted to have, and Matt, you might be too new, but
Yeah,
the junior high
yeah,
schools
yeah, right.
wanted
There
to
was
go
money in that.
from
yeah.
a 4-person house to a 2-person house.
Is that kind of vanished now?
Well,
I think we've
Okay.
got a few more still completing that. And
Yeah.
again, they would be on that, they're not on that timeline of 2 years or 3 years. They do have.
Yeah,
a lot.
right, that's right.
and
But as
there
an
was,
HR person, like, it's my job to say, okay, enough already, get it
Yeah,
done.
right.
Or
right.
what's the barrier that we can
Sure.
help you get it done? So you don't want to let somebody, stretch it out too far.
and is the timeline, how many years they get, or is it based on the type that they're getting? Like you had mentioned, Katie would be,
Yep. It's very much based on what they're getting.
okay,
So what does Katie mean?
She has her admin license, but not director of pupil
Oh,
services.
okay,
So she has a little more coursework to do.
okay.
Yeah, it won't be too tough for her to get that done. And she has 2 years. Back to you, Jim.
I was just gonna comment, at the recent, once a month, we have a regional CISA 7 meeting. And this time we had a legislative meeting and we were discussing licensing and the challenges. And there was definitely support among the legislators there about supporting CISA and their work and assistance, believing, or just what Mary had commented, that they find it could be more efficient and effective.
Those 2 CISA programs, CISA 6 and 7, are anywhere from 9,000 to 15,000. In some cases, that's cheaper than going to a university and
Oh, wow.
less expensive, I should say, not cheaper.
Yeah, right.
The American Board is around 2,000 to complete that. So it's really, when we
yeah,
bring
we're
these
talking
people
about-
on, it's really working with HR and the principal to say what's the best fit for you. I wouldn't have that third grade teacher that needs fourth grade go through a whole program. that would be a good example of American Board. Let's do some modules online, exams, and then get you updated. So, navigating all that is very difficult. The teachers will tell you, I went to the DPI website and I don't understand. So it's a lot of just helping and supporting them. What is your background? What are we trying to add? What's cost effective, but also really we might need to make an investment because we want the best of the best in front of our kids, right? So it's not one simple answer like, oh, just do this. It's really analyzing what their background is and how we can support them. But certainly
That would
out of
kind of,
those
if
60,
they're really good, that would kind of build in a loyalty sort of thing too. I mean, you know,
I'd love to pay for all these. I don't know that that's in our budget, but
yeah, we have
I'd
that
love to.
rainy day fund, I guess. But I don't know.
Empty.
It's probably not in their budget.
So of the 68 hires, again, 36 of them are not completely licensed where they need to be. That doesn't cause panic for me when I really looked at, you know, they're already certified or they just need to do this. And Jim heard at CISA 7, or at your PEC meeting, right? It's the new job market out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And it's going to be more and more typical, I think, of, okay, what is your background? We might be able to put you through a program
Yeah.
and support you versus, oh, you're not qualified, you can't do it. So, yeah, I think, Jim, we've talked about, you know, those early literacy and math pieces.
Yeah.
You don't just pull anybody off the street for that, right? We really want to make sure they have some qualifications before we offer that job. So I really think our principals did a good job when I look at this list and take a look at who needs what. I feel pretty good about the hiring that was done this summer and fall. Support staff positions, we filled 27 so far. Actually, we filled 28. We have 3 left to go. That changed on Friday as well. And the admin positions, we filled 7 and we have 2 to go. So that changed with my resignation. We have 7 filled and 3 to fill yet. And Jim and I have been working today on getting that posted and my position posted and moving forward with that hiring piece.
And the other one is Wilson?
Wilson has an AP and Lincoln has an AP. So Katie
Right,
and Anna's
yeah, okay,
positions.
all right.
Screening interviews this week for Lincoln. We got, I think, 17 applications, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
About half of those were internal and about half external.
Okay,
And then Wilson, you know, we have 5 external. Not confident how many internal. I think it's about the same, about 50-50. And Corey's working on getting a screening interview set up too.
okay.
So we're moving to hopefully at the October 25th board meeting to have those on the personnel report.
Okay.
Have some hires.
Great.
A lot happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece I want to make sure that you all are aware of, before I jumped on board, there was some incentive payments
Yeah.
offered, and just to see where we're at. That's a lot of money.
It is.
I truly believe when I look at hires after August 12th, it's certainly got some people interested in
After
this.
August 12th, yeah, on this desperation time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the current staff that refer to hire, we paid out the sign-on bonus for new teachers, and then the new teacher sign-on bonus was $5,000. The sign-on bonus for the new support staff was $1,000, I believe. So
Are there stipulations with that if they don't finish their contract?
they
or
have to
things
make
like
it
that?
through the end of the year.
Okay,
First payment will be at the end of first semester, so they could get half.
okay,
The second payment will be at the end of second semester. So there's a little teeth
okay.
in that. Good question.
And is that, with the remaining positions we have open, is this still a program we're running? or-
Yeah. So Jim, I think at director's meeting, we kind of talked about ending that on September 30th.
Right.
So that's what we went ahead and did.
So when you hire, wow, in the middle of the summer, are you really getting quality candidates or not? I mean, are you paying more money for less in
What?
that way?
Yep, I think if the district chooses to do this again next summer, that those kind of questions should certainly be asked.
Okay,
I also, honestly, I think the 5,000 was pretty high. When I look
Okay,
around at
yeah.
what other districts did. And it's really what do you as a board want to make an investment, because just quickly looking at those numbers, we're over $100,000.
yeah, right.
And really, it's that,
You know, look at our numbers and what we have filled and what we have left to fill. I think we did it
yeah, it certainly helped Phil.
an amazing job.
Yeah,
Yep.
one of the things I think about too is if there is a way to, and I'm really disappointed with Mary leaving because I look forward to discussing this, is how to incentivize early hires.
Yeah,
You know, when you're first launching, you know, back to if you need to do that. you know,
Right.
But again, as Mary indicated, it's difficult, but we're anticipating that there's going to be more shortages.
Mhm.
And it's not that we want to encourage everybody to start jumping jobs.
Right.
You know,
boy, has anybody really looked at like the big picture on the market? I mean, not, supply and demand. I mean, we've always sort of run this country by market principles. But what does it do? I mean, how does it have an impact on the quality of people you get, the sort of sense, the sense of loyalty that you get that's needed for, building a really, really good operation? How resistant are teachers to, improving themselves, when they can just say, well, screw you, I'll go to Kiwani or something, and, is there a kind of there's gotta be an impact on all of that sort of stuff, doesn't it? I mean, it's a kind of a new environment, but I think, it may not be, it may be the environment that sort of lasts.
Well, I think one safeguard you have in there, or a loyalty, is the money that they have to pay to get out of their contract.
Oh, sure. I
Right.
mean, I'm not talking about, leaving contracts early, but I'm talking about cultivating teachers to stay for,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
the long term.
Investing in that.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I just think that if you got a good teacher, honestly, they're worth a lot
Right.
to keep them working for you.
And I think that's gonna come up, when we look at, the exit interview data. I think we need to look at that and be strategic about it and say, with our HR director, what are we gonna do to
Yeah, I think that we should,
incentivize?
I think that makes all the more compelling reason to look at the exit stuff.
Mhm.
This like, oh gee, well, we all know why that was the case, right?
And maybe
Okay.
not, because I can almost know what you're gonna say.
What, Mary?
Yeah.
Or me?
Well, we want to make sure that we take the exit stuff with a grain of salt. 'Cause it's either gonna be people that are like really angry. And then there's also the side of that, it was great.
We know that already.
Yeah.
I mean, we get
So
the
just-
letters, we get the messages on email.
Yeah.
Of teachers who quit in the middle of the year because and nothing is ever done about it.
Yeah. However, I mean, I think one of the ones that was totally hit home, I think for all of us, was the discipline, right? I mean, we've lost, I can think of one right now, really
Oh,
great
yeah.
teacher, been in our district for a very long time. And that was kind of her number one thing was discipline. Now, she was just one person.
Yeah.
I was sharing with Stacy in my two previous districts. One, we did the exit survey, one we didn't. But in both, I always invited staff in for an exit interview.
Yeah.
So when
Rather
you
than the
check mark
survey.
on the survey that you were frustrated with administration.
Yep.
What does that mean? Is that your principal? Your EP? Is that directors, the superintendent?
The whole system.
There's so much more to that answer that I need to know if I'm going to affect change here in the district. So simply checking that, no comment, how do I follow up on that?
Right.
I found that when people had to come in and meet with me, I got a more honest answer.
Yeah.
I
I'm
could
sure
do
you
a little
did.
problem solving and we could talk about some ideas, right? Just an anonymous survey, I don't know, if you just got an
Yeah,
Instagram.
Totally agree with that.
So
Right.
doing an actual exit in it.
Yes,
Correct.
so you sit down with me and talk through, and typically I would just say like, here's the district mission, vision, I think that is right, and our core values. What are we doing to meet those? Where do you feel we're not meeting those? And what could we do better to meet those? Those were my three, and everything that needed to come out, came out. And we had a really good discussion, and they felt good about leaving the district by finishing up that way and having their voice heard.
Yeah, I think that's a real good,
It's
I
Stacy.
mean, there are
yes.
people that it's just not the right fit for them, but you know,
Yeah,
or
right.
there's. you know,
Or
in a-
my
in a
family's
person- yeah,
moved,
yeah,
or, right,
Mhm.
some other opportunity.
But I think, wow, yeah. Once you get into a job, I mean, it's a little like immigration, it's like most people don't immigrate. Because, they get comfortable where they are and they, the devil they know is better than the one they don't know. But to leave, especially after they've been for a while, is a real indicator of, boy, something's not right.
Yeah, there's gotta be a reason. I mean, other than the fact maybe somebody moving or new opportunities, if it's a personal decision,
Right.
then yeah, it's obviously it's major. Like you said, to actually immigrate to something else
Yep.
is a big decision.
That's a big decision. You have to sell a house. You have to get a house. You have to get your kids in, if you have kids, into another school system.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in future meetings, I definitely think that that's, a viable option that we should,
So how much does that add to the workload? Quite a bit, actually, I think.
It's a great investment.
It's a great investment. Yeah, that's good.
I would make time to do it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, and there's
I'm glad you recommended that.
there's the thing, we either pay our HR director to do it, or we, pay the survey company, right?
Oh, yeah,
Right,
right.
I rather,
mean,
I rather
I just,
pay,
I'm not happy with it. Let's farm everything out.
Right. Which is-
Like we had this discussion briefly about, hiring a company to come in to do their disciplinary stuff,
Right.
It was just like, oh, geez.
Yeah, I think it would allow that HR director to have their pulse on
Yeah, I think so too.
the staff and why people are
Mhm.
So we
excellent.
could maybe ask you, if you do it, just, if, I mean, you're not staying, so what could we, I'd be curious to know what we could do to
But I think,
recruit a really good HR person like yourself and keep them.
I think it would be a worthy interview question as you enter into interviews for that position.
Yeah.
Get some thoughts on exit surveys and what's worked for a person and
Yeah,
and get that feeling, do they truly believe in that? Investing that time is going to really help to build that thriving workforce.
yeah, right,
Yeah, I think it's an important part of an HR director's
sure.
job. Yeah. And I will say sometimes people turn me down. I would say, can I meet with my principal instead? Hey, if I can get you talking with somebody before you leave, I'm okay with that. And then I would follow up with the principal.
Mhm.
Or can I talk to the superintendent instead? Sure. But we want you to be respected and heard before you leave, and
Yeah,
not an angry email to the board.
well,
Right.
really, it's really useful for us too.
Yeah, yeah. That's it on that.
Okay.
Specific document, just two more things that I'm working on, with Angela Erdman. We've had some of our, substitutes who come in and fill instructional aid or para positions, concerned that we're not competitive, with the area. And I did a comparison, and we should bring that pay up. That's my recommendation.
Which pay is that?
For subs who sub
subs.
for paraprofessional or
Okay,
aides.
okay,
I think our teacher rate is pretty competitive.
okay.
When I look at comparables, it's the aides, para, so the support positions. And that question has also been brought to me by some of our retired aides who left here making maybe $13 to $15, and now they come back to sub and they're only getting $11.50.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what I
yeah.
learned is that we have a difference in pay rate for teachers versus retired, but we've never offered that for aides versus retired aides. So I've presented the comparables to Angela, and she's gonna come to the finance committee with a recommendation.
Okay.
And
Oh,
we've
that'd be
been working
good.
on that.
I mean, we didn't pay the paras very well until fairly
One of the
recently.
things that just bothers me so
Yeah.
bad, I mean, we really, the paras are
Oh,
not even remotely close to being, I don't even call it a wage. I really don't. I mean, even on this personnel, if you look at the
Income.
one that's coming up, we have some PM custodians that retire right along with the paras.
Mhm.
And you see that we pay the PM custodian 16 something, and we pay these paras for teaching our kids, and they are doing a lot of teaching
$11 or
for
something.
$13 now.
Yeah,
And
right.
it just,
I said,
it's
at one
so frustrating.
Yeah.
you know, I'm embarrassed that we're not paying everybody at least a minimum of 15 for para, you know?
At a
And I said, of
minimum,
course, you know, I'm the liberal here, but nevertheless, you know,
no,
it seems
that's
to
not
me-
it. That's just being human. Right now, at a minimum, we are trusting these people with our children. And
Yeah,
and
exactly
that is
right.
it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can get more working at, you know, hamburger place.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mary,
Yeah.
you know what
So
happened?
it's just
I think
bad.
it's important to look at internal equity.
Yeah.
The
Think
job
so, too.
description, the high level of what they're expected to do with kiddos, and really revisit not only what you did last year, but what should be done. I think that's pretty important. I think the other thing you need to keep in mind, and Angela and I talked at length about it, right now the CPI is looking maybe as high as 7 or 8%. So you're already looking at potentially a nice raise that you're gonna have to
What's CPI? What's that?
consumer price index.
Oh, yeah.
So you're already potentially looking at a good raise for folks. So it would be I think a mistake right now to go, oh, we're gonna bump you up to $16 an hour. And now CPI comes in and then you're having
Right.
to, so just, you know, word of caution, agree, but you're gonna be doing some raises again in the spring. So don't get yourself to where you can't afford, you've created a budget that you can't meet, right? I feel like you, Matt, like, they're out there on the front line doing the hard work.
I'm kidding.
If I could give them $30 an hour, I would.
Yeah.
It's
But I
really
also-
changed though, I think, over the years. The parents we were expecting much more of them than what we had when we first instituted getting paras and teachers' aides. These teachers are not just, these are, I call them teachers because they're not running copies and doing stuff like that. These people are teaching our children.
Yep,
Yeah.
small groups and, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I like to call them educators. They're not teachers, but they're certainly educating our kids, right?
right,
They play a role in that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it, is calling them educators. I really like that.
Jim, were you say something?
Mary, you know, it surprises me that we didn't have we done comparables before with how we're paying compared to, it's just one of those things there that, you know,
I think we did
we
with
should do this
teachers.
routinely
I
for
think we did
everybody.
with teachers. I'm not so sure that happened with paras, other than in the
Most
spring
recently, right?
when our current employees, not the substitutes. So
Right.
those folks have come out of the woodwork to let me know, hey, I can go here, here, here and make this. I checked those comparables and there's some truth behind what they're saying. And as I said, I would love to do that, but I gotta meet with the money person, right? So
Yeah,
Angela's
yeah.
gonna have a recommendation for the finance committee to say, here's what we could probably afford to raise it to. Caution, raises again probably in the spring. So there's a nice opportunity to build something pretty quickly.
And with that, I just because the shock treatment, you know, because I truly believe that we probably have a revenue problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we
this is a
probably do.
labor intensive business. And when we're talking about doing things right relatively, that there could be some sticker shock here too.
Yep.
But you know, it's getting us into the mindset of what do we have to do to educate the public. And so I only mention that because And I think Angela sometimes has attempted she's just sees, well, go to Angela if you need more money,
Yeah, right.
you know, without the context of
Right,
Yeah.
what's our needs.
right.
you
Or
know.
sometimes I think folks forget to go to Angela
Right,
and come to you and say, here's what we're gonna do, and then Angela
Yeah.
goes, "Well, we don't
yeah,
have the
so,
money."
this is all part of, you know, even using this opportunity to educate us to continue to elevate the level of understanding about our business and the cost of doing business.
Yeah. The other group of people that I have started to study are some of the people in my office and some of the people in Angela's office here at district office. We have some people, such as my specialist, Tatum, who she's required a bachelor's degree. She has her SHRM certification, but we're paying her like a clerical almost. So I've really asked Angela to reanalyze, and we're well into that process. Same with benefits, payroll, you know, the payroll person having an accounting degree, but we're not recognizing that knowledge and how important it is for the work they do. Not only that, but that high level of confidential information in my office and the business office. Nothing against all the other offices here, and we're certainly looking at all those pieces. But she's going to be coming forward to, again, the finance committee. We really have to be careful with equity. What is their job description in making some decisions about that? But
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised in my office, and that's what led me to picking away at this to go, what else is going on in this building as far as pay for all those who support the administrators in doing their jobs. So just want you to be aware that's coming to finance.
Oh, yeah.
And again, Angela, what's realistic, you know, finding $70,000 in the budget, maybe not,
Mhm.
7,000 maybe. So
Oh,
she's gonna,
yeah, that's where the formula really hits the road, doesn't it?
Yep.
And it's like, holy man, if we're a low budget, you know, low formula.
fiscally responsible, Terry.
Yeah,
Here,
really.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're trying to be fiscally responsible,
Yeah.
right? Because we need to answer to the public and be careful in how we're spending money. But
Sure.
when I look at comparables, you're gonna lose some folks if you're not looking at that kind of investment. So
I mean, when you think about how much more per student that Two Rivers gets compared to us, it's just like, what? You know, this system, the system of doling out the loaves and fishes
I
just
agree.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agree.
and many
But,
politicians
yeah.
run on the fact that they're gonna fix that.
Oh,
In
they
my
don't. I
31
don't think
years,
there's ever
I
gonna
have
be
not
politics around
seen-
here. It's gonna fix that.
I have not seen a fix in my 31 years in
Yeah.
education. But hopefully somebody rolls their sleeves up. and
Tony
starts
Thompson
removing.
put that one together, I think. And, I mean, it was a move ahead. But, you know, but it's politics, so, you know,
It's
if you're
politics.
from Waukesha, you know, you get more.
Who's gonna fight for the kid
Yeah, right.
at a school of poverty and really
Yeah.
make sure they're getting an equitable experience? Right? That struck me when I came here the first week, and all of our students were so red in the face, and
They
their
were?
teachers, because it was hot in their buildings.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
in my Sheboygan Falls, like, we were air conditioned in all three buildings. I'd
Yeah,
forgotten
I
about that.
believe that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the working conditions, the learning conditions.
I do too.
That's
As I
That's
walked in there, I said, what's wrong? What's going on? Oh, it's always like this at the beginning of the
It
school year.
was hot.
What?
But that's a real solidly middle class community.
Okay, but I'm
Like this
giving
one
this
isn't,
example where, like,
Yeah,
why shouldn't every kid in Wisconsin sit in a school? I probably shouldn't go on record. Sit in a school that's air conditioned and improving that condition to learn. Where I'm
Oh,
not sweating and needing
that's for
water,
sure, yeah.
right?
That's for sure.
Why can Nicolay High School and
Oh, yeah,
Lincoln
Nicolay
High
can have
School
anything it
and
wants.
why can't they have that equal experience?
I
And
agree.
and to what extent does that impact student life? It's the age-old question.
Yeah.
Right.
Enough of my soapbox.
Oh, this-
Any other
you're right, though.
questions regarding that?
Oh, this is good.
What I had hoped to talk about next then was the planning for future meetings and topics. And so Joyce and I have been working to pull that together. I'm going to offer that to Stacy as a recommendation, but I'm not so sure I should be directing that right now as I'm on my way out.
Okay.
But we certainly have topics. You know, there's some must-dos, like you have teacher non-renewal, principal non-renewal, or renewals of contracts that you're gonna have to pay really close attention to. And Jim's aware of those, just to make sure we're on time with that, or sometimes if we miss that, we'd be really sorry. So there's some upcoming topics. The school calendar needs to be probably in November kicked off with discussions. That'll be pretty important. So again, I can direct those, but that needs to be a joint effort with the
Where's calendar? Do we do calendar?
Well, we've
Yes,
never
ma'am.
been invited to do calendar.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
My experience has been that a committee works on that and then brings it to the board and beats that up a little bit. So I believe it's been the personnel committee.
Not here, it has. No.
So
It's presented, I believe, it's presented to the committee and then presented to the board.
To the
but there's
board.
no- Yeah.
I think, this year you asked for an early start
Mhm.
before the
Mhm.
state laws
Yeah.
requirement is September 1st.
Right.
So that needs to get in the process to request a DPO.
Yeah.
You still have time, but.
Right, I think actually we don't, traditionally, we haven't even voted on the schedule until spring.
And that blows my mind because I came from two districts where people are off in April or March on their spring break trying to book the same resort.
Mhm.
And they're usually calling back to the district office to say,
Right.
where's that school calendar?
It's a calendar.
So here, I think parents are a little more
Yeah.
patient, but it's certainly, I think you owe it to them
Mhm.
with work schedules and whatever to really get out in front of that and look to probably finalize it at your January board meeting. If you start in
Wow,
November,
that's a new one, isn't it?
if you start in November, you could, but again,
Yeah.
I'm leaving you, so I shouldn't direct that, but my suggestion would be to get on it in November.
Okay.
So you get it through committee and into the full board in January, possibly February.
Okay.
I think it's a nice reach out to families to say, we're trying to respect your schedules, whether that's work or vacation or whatever, but
Mhm.
you need to know that in advance. Matt's shaking his head like, my husband in a factory, like he needs to be a year out.
Yeah.
With vacation information.
Yeah, they pick vacations usually in the beginning of the year, starting in January or even late January, maybe some places. So it's important that that's already out so they can choose, because when it comes down the line in a seniority, like in a factory, it's, hey, it's my turn to pick vacations, but I don't have any clue on when my daughter goes
No.
back to school. So I have to skip that. So now I'm missing. Now I have to go through an entire roster of people picking, and I probably lost the vacation that I wanted. So yeah, it's very, very important.
I would say if you're gonna
How come,
focus some efforts, that'll be an important one quickly. And it's
Yeah.
my understanding the HR director kicks that off. So,
well, and for the staff, too, I suppose.
yeah, again, a big decision. Are you starting before September 1st? Because then that kind of determines the whole rest of the year.
Yeah,
And if you've ever worked on a calendar committee, which I'm sure Jim has, I don't know about the rest of you, your holidays kind of,
Dictate
Driving.
things.
yeah,
yeah.
not fair, I know, but if you start before September 1st, you get a little cushion to whittle, and then when at the end, when do we want to get summer school started? So.
Yeah.
Important decisions. Where does Christmas fall? That determines it every year.
Right.
And a week
Really?
later, New Year's, that
Uh-huh.
determines so much, right? But you want to get on that one and don't let it sit. So that's all I had.
Okay,
Cool, that's good.
all right. But
I don't
Well,
think-
we're gonna meet, our next meeting, this is gonna be our standard time, is always gonna be the second Monday at 5.
Okay,
So, just so everybody knows and has
That's
that
good.
down. So this is your first and last personnel. committee
wow, you're gonna miss a lot, Mary.
We're gonna miss a lot. I'm sitting here thinking,
I
how
know, I was.
this woman is
thinking a little
perfect
bit.
for
I
our
know.
district, and
Yeah, we are.
All right, well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I gotta,
Second,
I'm gonna be away.
can we adjourn first? Second?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll second, I'm
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And then let's have her turn the recording off here.
So next week I'm gonna be out of state.